When I say I've got a chest that I use, I mean I've got a chest that I use. So this is my toolbox for this. I love it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I put it aside backwards so I would be able to flip it out the right way, and then I flipped it the wrong way. There we go. So this is the chest of toys that everything goes into. And if we open it up, sorry for that loud bang, this is what it looks like inside. So we've got extra paper towel. Is something that I always keep with me, is extra paper towel. So we've got that set aside. And it looks kind of like a giant mess right now, but it is not, I guarantee you. I always keep a piece of cardboard in here because this allows me to make sure that when I'm cutting the wax, I'm not going to cause any problems for myself. Artist tiles, these are the things that we are going to, you can't see. Artist tiles, these are what we're going to use for what our purposes are today. These are very simply acid-free little sketch pads that we're going to use. So we're going to set those aside. I always recommend, this is more awkward than I thought, having Scotch tape with you. Having tape or a Scotch tape, something like that, helps because sometimes if you're doing things like using twine to tie off your letter or to seal off your wax, then it's going to cause, it can move, and then ribbons like to move a lot as well. So if you use a tiny strip of tape, and when I say a tiny strip of tape, what I mean is actually, and if you have any questions as we're going along, let me know. Literally something along this size where it's very small, and I'll take that and rip that in half again. And just a tiny little square of tape that you can use to tape things down in case you need to. There we go. So if you have any questions as we go along, please let me know. Don't hesitate. There we go. What else do we have in here? We also have, so I've got the twine that I use. I have, this is very important. I highly recommend, you can use an X-Acto blade, but they can tend to break, so I don't use them. This is a Mora knife from Sweden, and it is a whittling knife. Yes, we're going to be doing the sticks. So this is a whittling knife. It is a Morikini. It's very sharp whittling knife, fantastic for cutting wax. So we need that out as well. And then we also, so these are wax colors, as you can see. If you're using the wax like this, you are going to only use 3 or 4 of these. You don't need, if I can grab one. They're small, you don't need a whole pile of them. You're only going to need about 3 or 4 of these wax pellets, and they're going to melt in your spoon just the way the other wax is going to. The other thing that I really recommend is having a furnace. So this is the furnace, and the furnace protects you and holds the spoon so you don't have to worry about getting burned. And literally all you're using to melt your wax is a tea light. So you don't need a crazy candle, a crazy setup. You just need a tea light. If you don't have a furnace, you can do it without the furnace, but the furnace nicely holds on to your spoon while it's melting, so you don't have to sit there and hover over top and risk burning yourself when you're doing it. So I've got the golden spoon that has a beautiful little bevel to pour the wax out. It works really, really well. I love this spoon. And I also have other spoons that I use. As you can see, the bottoms get burned, but I've also got other spoons that you can use for backup and emergencies for this. Whoops. This box is awkward. Of course, you need flames. Fire is going to be your friend while you're doing this. And I like to have burlap on hand because some letters I will tie with burlap, or some things I'll tie off with burlap. Like this one that I did, you can see it's just wrapped around, and it's got, you can't really see. There you go. It's wrapped around and it's got the burlap on it. So there's the seal. The other thing that I like to keep in mind, now this was a bit of a test for myself. we have 3 Sharpies here, a silver, gold, and a bronze or a brass color that we have. And I'm going to show you how this works, but this is for coloring your stamp. The stamps come red, and then you use one of these markers to color them to get that accent. So it's a process that we're doing when we're going through this. These work all right in a pinch. They're not the greatest. They do cause, like they die really quickly and you have to keep rotating them and things, and they work, but they're not absolutely beautiful. The ones that I prefer are the metallic pens. This is the STM metallic colored pen. This pen works phenomenally for coloring in your wax as we're going along. And that is tier 1 of what we're looking at. Now we have tier 2. So tier 2 features more wax. We can see there's some more peach colors here. We have another rosé, a rose kind of color that's there. And we have these. So here in Canada, when you're doing the wax seals, you're going to be using wax that's going to look like this. You may also have it come like this. And then it comes generally in little boxes like this box here. This box of, I believe it's 4 sticks, 4 bâtons. Yeah, 4 bâtons is $22 for this small thing of wax. It's rather expensive to buy the wax here in Canada. So these ones are going to be, you can see that they're cut. These are going to be the wax sticks that you're going to cut and to a certain chunk, and you're going to melt that and use it. This wax is a different wax. For this one, you don't need all of the fancy setup that we have here. All you have to do is light the wick on fire, tilt it upside down, and it's going to drip the wax onto your page or onto your envelope as you need to get that seal that you're looking for. So I'll get these set up back here. And again, I've got gold, silver, and silver in that color. We have gold, silver, and red. There are reasons for these colors, which we'll get to in a moment. Or after we're done the demo, we'll get to the colors and what they all mean. This wax that you see here, these giant sticks, my brother-in-law, last time he went to Poland, I was complaining about the fact that wax is so expensive here in Canada. So he said, oh, I'll see if I can buy you some wax when I'm in Poland. He got me these sticks, which some of them broke in transit, but you can see these sticks here. There is 3 layers of this. So these sticks are slightly bigger than these ones, as you can tell. There's a bit of a size discrepancy. And he bought me, there's 4 layers. I think there's 24 of these sticks that I have. And it cost him, I think he said $19 Canadian for all of that wax. So it's a massive, massive savings for me. We have more candles, and I've got a supplier from France that I use, that I buy my wax from now, and my wax seals. It's a French company, and they are fantastic in getting everything to you. We have a set of ribbon that we're going to be using for doing our sealing today. As we go along, I'll show you how to use that as well. I have a spare furnace just in case something happens to the first one. There's a deal that came in, so it came with it. Then we have the stamps. So the stamps look like this, and they're generally wooden handled with a brass plate. So this is my family stamp that I use. It's got the C for my last name. The nice thing about this is the handles are interchangeable. Oh, sorry, the stamps are interchangeable. So if you have a stamp, if you have a handle, you can get multiple stamp heads and not have to worry about getting multiple handles. However, for myself, I did get different handles because that's just the way I roll sometimes. Here is the official stamp for Wax Seal Productions. It's got the WSP, specially designed. It's the company that I use is Royal Wax Seals, and you can send them a logo, you can send them an image, a couple of words, and they will design a custom stamp for you. To that end, we also have as you're all familiar with the the Calm Scribe logo, we have the Calm Scribe logo here as well that I use. So that's a brief tour through my toolbox here. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose a red and a red. Actually, we'll just use... Yeah, we'll choose these two reds. We're going to pull those aside. I'll show you all 3 stamps and how they work. So we'll pull the 3 stamps out as well. And the ribbon. And we don't need that. So we're going to pull this back over. Get here. Whoops. We're going to use this and our furnace that we'll get set up. We also need our color pen. And I'll show you the difference of what I was talking about. And the fire that we need. No, we'll pull this out as well and see for that. So now we're going to close this aside and set this aside. There we go. So let's take a look. So we need to get ourselves properly set up. So we're going to set the furnace here. We're going to take some paper towel. I always will take a couple pieces of paper towel, usually tear them in half. Because the other thing too is you need to clean as you go. So I'll discuss that as we go along. I usually will tear one in half and set it aside. Take another one that's doubled, set it aside as well. And then I've got more that I've set aside. I'm going to tear up one more just in case. So we have this set. The other thing that you have is there is this furnace. This is also a furnace. If you're doing a lot of letters, like if you're doing wedding invitations, for example, and you don't have a, you can do it with, say if you're doing wedding invitations, you can do a supply line where you've got someone melting the wax and getting ready as you go along and someone stamping. Like you can set it up that way. Or you can just set a whole pile of wax into this thing, light the flame underneath, and this stays hot. It keeps your wax nice and bubbling hot, and then you can do it. The only thing with that you need to bear in mind is that it will smoke. The wax is burning wax, so it does smoke. So you have to be careful with that. So first things first, let's take a look at my insignia. So what we're going to do, if you have problems with the wax sticking to your stamp, it either means that you're trying to pull it off too fast or you're not applying the pressure properly. If it does cause issues, be very careful with using anything to scrape it, because you can put little fine lines and they will appear on your seal when you're doing it. The other thing you want to do is, if it is causing you a real issue, you can take a tiny amount of olive oil or vegetable oil, rub that on your stamp, dab it off with paper towel, and that little bit of slickness will help with that, especially if you're doing multiple stamps, because it can get sticky over time. And this is not going to be a fast process when you're doing this. It's going to take time, and it's a meditative process as you're doing this. So what I like to do, and you'll see me do this 6 or 7 times during one stamping session, I like to make sure that I have my stamp set properly, because once the wax is down, you want to make sure that you don't have your stamp like this, or you can see it like this, or at some weird angle. You want to make sure the stamp is set properly. So oftentimes what I'll do is actually take it, push it against my hand, and make sure, you can't really see, but I can see, all right, so the stamp is facing the right direction. So I'll take it like this, and I'll set it down, making sure it's in the right place. And it's setting the right way. You'll see me multiple times picking it up and ensuring that it's in the right space. We're going to take our pens, get them out of the way. You want to make sure your workstation is clear and clean when you're doing this. So anything that's extra that you don't need, move it, get rid of it. All right. Now, you want to have your paper set out. Wax seals, by right, are difficult to work with. They're sticky, sorry. They're sticky, so you need to make sure that you're being kind to your guests, or to the person that is receiving what you're working on, or what you're sending. So what I like to do is take ribbon or twine or something else, and cut it just like this. Lock the animal. Yes, I would definitely at least lock the cats away. You don't want the cats getting their tails burned. And burned fingers are not fun with this. Like this is, like I said, cooking with sugar, this is going to burn and it's going to hurt. So you've got two options. You can take your ribbon and you can fold it in half, like this, and have it sticking out, or you can cut it. So I'm going to cut mine so you can see what I'm talking about. So we're going to give this a cut. There we are. Set the other one aside. The reason you're doing this is if you've got an envelope that's sealed with just the wax seal, it's really hard to break the wax. You get your fingernail underneath to pop it up, to break that wax seal is going to be very difficult. Now, most people, honestly, when you send them something with a wax seal, they're like, oh, it's so beautiful, I don't want to break the seal, and they'll cut around it, they'll tear the top of the envelope, they'll do whatever. So this also just adds a bit of an effect to it. So what that is going to do is, that is going to be your pull tab. So you're going to set the, so if we have an envelope, let's draw an envelope here. If we have an envelope that's coming down here, like this, and that's the lip of your envelope, then this is going to go, you cannot see what I drew. Let me do this better. There we go. So this is your envelope, that's there. Then you're going to take this and you're going to put it down. Now, what I was saying with we're going to do a couple of different methods of doing this. So I'll show you a couple of different ways. So like I said, you can have it one like this, or you can take it and you can fold it. So you've got this beautiful double effect, and you can set that down on your page and go for that. If you have it folded, it's going to move on you and it's going to be difficult. If you don't have it folded, if you just have it sitting here, it can move. That's where that tiny little strip of tape just put at the top can really help keep it down. But I'll show you that in a moment. So now we have this set here, like this. And we have our letter written. Everything is ready to go. And we're going to go here. Oh, there it is. So now that we have that set aside, we're going to take a look at the wax. Typically, if you've got a wax that has the fleur-de-lis on it, like this one does, you can kind of see. I usually use one fleur-de-lis for what I'm doing. So we're just going to go here, take it, and wax. This is another spot you have to be very careful. Wax is very hard. It's dense. It's really hard to cut. So this is a whittling knife. It's very sharp, and it's very hard to work with. So to cut the wax, I will generally go here, pull your fingers back in case it pops, apply pressure down, and you can see the knife only made it that far. So then I'll take it off, rotate it, line the knife blade up again with where you had your cut, put pressure down again, take it off, line your blade up again, put more pressure, and Robert, your mother's brother. So you can see the wax has been cut. And there we are. So now we have this beautiful fleur-de-lis piece of wax that we are going to place into our furnace. Put your knife away. Safety first. Like I said, make sure your workspace is clean and clear of clutter and anything that you do not need. At this point, you want to ensure that you have your paper towels ready. So I'm going to use a folded one for this. The paper towel is important because when this melts, it is going to melt and it is going to leave. That's the best Bob's Your Uncle variant. Thank you. I love that variant. It is my favorite, I have to say. So then you're going to move the cardboard out of the way because it's not needed. And this is going to be a gooey, waxy mess when you're done. So as soon as you finish pouring this, we are going to, so I'm going to explain the steps. We are going to light our flame, put our furnace over top, carefully put our spoon on top with our wax already in it. We're going to let it melt. Then you will see the fleur-de-lis is nice, Because it gives you, when the fleur-de-lis disappears, then you know your wax is melted nicely. Or if it starts bubbling, there's different methods to tell. We're going to take that. We're going to pour the wax onto our envelope here. And then we're going to take the stamp and we're going to set the stamp into the wax. And the stamp then has to sit for a minute. The wax has to cool. If you touch it, you're going to put fingerprints in it. It will show up. I guarantee you it will show up, and you'll burn your finger. As that is setting, we're going to take this, and very much like in a church, we're going to take it and you're going to put your thumb in the back. You're going to tuck your thumb into the bowl like so. So you can see my thumb here. And then you're just going to go like this and wipe out and get rid of any wax residue that is in there. And also be sure to do the bottom, because the bottom gets burned as we're doing this. You'll see. It gets covered in soot. So with all that being said, let's do our first seal. So make sure your seal is facing the right way. This is an important step. Make sure your seal is facing the right way, and it is in arm's reach, that you're not reaching across fire, you're not reaching across hot wax to do it. Take your fleur-de-lis, set it inside. I'm going to set that down. Light your flame. Put your lighter away. You can see the flame glowing here. Put the furnace over top of your flame. Get it centered. Put your wax on top. Don't overfill it, because it will spill out and that's going to cause a mess that you don't want to deal with. So now we're going to take a moment and ensure that we have everything lined up the way we want it lined up. So this looks good. It's lined up. The length of the ribbon you use is up to you. How you cut it is up to you. Whatever you want to do. This is how I like to do it. So as we're talking here, the wax is doing its thing. It's starting to melt. You can see there's a little bit of a glossiness going around the edges of the corners. And our wax is slowly melting down into our pot. So again, check, make sure you've got this the right way. If you want to, put it on your hand. Make sure it's facing correctly, set it down. Make sure it's out of the way so you're not going to knock it and mess it up. Because there is a limited amount of time that you have to get this wax done properly. So like I said, it's a process. So if you're doing multiple letters, having a system like this, where you can just have the wax bubbling along, is nice, because you just have to take your spoon, scoop it out, pour it on, and keep going, and just add wax as you need it. So it's always going. Otherwise, every single time, you have to go through this process and melt the wax down. But that gives you a moment to check other things that you're doing, to color in the ones that are already dry. There's a variety of things. You get this waxy smell from it. I love the smell myself personally. And this wax is not just any wax. You can't just use the candle wax for this. You can, but it's going to damage the envelope. You will destroy the envelope, and you'll probably have to shave off the paper from it. So the other thing that's nice with this too is I like to do 2 little drops. My business card has 2 little drops, you can see. Possibly. There's the wax seal and there's 2 drops off to the side. Which do not want to show up on camera. There it is. You can see them. I like to do that. It looks nice. It adds a certain level of authenticity to it. So we can see now this is turning into a soupy mess. We can still see the fleur-de-lis. There's still a bit of a square. You want to make sure that if you're talking and moving around, you're not accidentally going to brush this off, because you want that in place with where it's going to be. There we go. So we're getting close. But this is where you could have a chain, where you could have someone folding the letters, stuffing them in the envelope, and then stacking up envelopes, and then someone melting the wax, doing the stamp, setting it aside to wait. You can see it starting to smoke here. You see the smoke coming off it. And then, so you can set up a bit of a chain to make it happen nicely for you. So the reason why I've got these is to put, this down afterwards. So that's smoking, it's nice and melted. This is set in the right spot. We're now going to pick this up off the flame, and we're going to dump it over our seal, of where we want it. Like I said, I like to add a couple of drops. Just off to the side. Make sure your stamp is set right, and set your stamp in the middle. You don't need to press down hard. If you press down hard, what's going to end up happening is you are going to lose. You're going to push through, and the ribbon is going to show through, or the paper is going to show through. So you're just setting the stamp on it, essentially. You're taking this, just cleaning your spoon. All right. Cleaning the spoon out as best you can, because you don't, otherwise, if you're using multiple colors, I mean, if it's the same color red, it doesn't matter. If you're using multiple colors, which there's reasons for, we'll get into, then it's going to start mixing your colors into it. Be careful, the spoon is hot. It's just been sitting on top of a fire for a couple of minutes. There we go. So now we have our, what looks to be a bloody rag, but is actually just wax. And you want to take a look. It's going to have a glossy sheen to it. It's going to have a nice look to it. Now it flew away. All right. So you want to give it a moment to sit and rest and really do its thing, because that's what it's here for. And if you touch the wax around, you're going to leave fingerprints. It's going to cause problems for you, and you don't want to be dealing with that. But let it sit, let it cool down, and then you can kind of test it a little bit to see. So you can kind of like just lift a little. There we go. And it came off clean. So now there's the stamp. The stamp is also hot because it's just been pushed in the hot wax. And here we have the C. Can we get the light to hit that properly? There we have the C of the seal. But it's really hard to see. Now you can send it this way. You don't have to worry about it. You can just send off the letter, let it cool, let it dry, let it do its thing, and you can send it off that way, and it's done. Now I am going to test touching it just to see. Now this one is dried, this one is sealed up. You can blow on it if you want to. The other thing you need to be aware of is that it is going to curve your paper. The wax as it dries is going to tighten up, and it is going to add a curve to your paper. That is just something that is going to occur. When it's dry and set and you know it's in good shape, then you can take your marker that you have and then just go over the raised points. There we go. Be careful to only hit the raised points, otherwise it's impossible to get off, and it's going to destroy the effect that you're going for. You still need to rotate your pen once in a while. There we go. And then you can go back through here and hit the raised points of the C. So you can see how this flows out like butter. It's very nice, very smooth, very easy to work with. Highlights everything that we're doing. There we go. Take another look. Make sure you've got everything colored that you want colored. Be careful not to touch anything you don't want to touch. Get the point done. And put the pen back. And there you have a wax seal with a C on it. Thanks. It is neat. It is very cool. So there you've got your wax seal that you can do whatever you want with. And go along. So that's my initial, that's my last name, and that's what I use. So now if someone receives their letter, instead of having to pick off the wax seal, all they have to do is grab this ribbon and pull. They pull backwards, and that's going to snap the wax seal on the letter that they're doing. So it just makes it easier for them to access and for them to get into. So that's one method of doing the wax seal. We're going to be doing basically the same method, but I'm going to show you my 3 different seals and different ways, like different ideas of how to do things. So there is one that we have. So we'll set that one off to the side there. We're going to use a different... Now I'll show you what happens if you use the Sharpie and what the difference with the Sharpie is. So again, we're going to repeat the steps that we went through. We're going to take our wax. My knife. This one I'm not so sure about the sizing of, because it's such a different wax. So it'll probably be about there, I suppose. Yeah, that's cut off. So I'm just going to mark this. There we go. I'm not sure if I've ever actually. I think I've used this this other wax once. So we'll see how this plays out. Again, safety first. This wax is very, very, very breaky. It's a very crumbly wax, this one. So as I was saying, this is not a normal wax. This isn't just, you can't use a candle and do it and have the same effect. There is actually a special way of making this wax, and that allows it to have certain properties. And if you have something like this happen, where there is extra wax on it, you can knock it to the middle and just knock it into your bowl. And that way you're not wasting wax as you're going along. He says as he brushes excess wax off of his page. This might be an excessive amount of wax, we'll see. So actually for this one, what I might do is do another thing here. So what we can do also is you can take a slip of paper and grab your pen or marker or whatever it is that you want, that you're working with, and just say, for example, welcome to the wax seal family from WSP. There we go. So we've got a little letter. Want to do a letter that something is very, if we have something that's a special note, that is an important document or a large letter, you would have one. So a small note would have one seal, a larger letter would have two seals, and something that is extremely important would have, or very large, would have three seals. So you can take it, you can fold the paper as you wish. Let's just do a quick fun little fold here just for the heck of it, because we can. Take this, fold it along the edges. Now, of course, with this, you're going to be able to see the writing on the back side of the page. You can see it coming through, but that's all right. Now we're going to take this, fold it back up here, and take this, fold it here. And now we have a little note that you could look at your courier or your messenger. You're scared of the wasp. Is it still there? I thought it flew out the window. Fold your lines nice and neat with a pen, or if you have a bone carving tool, you're even nicer. So you've got it set here. Now we've got this nice little note. You can see that there's something written inside, but we can't see what is written inside of this. No, it's in the window. Ah. That's not so fun. Whoops. So now we're going to take the ribbon again. We're going to cut a slightly longer version of the ribbon. And we're going to take it, cut it again. And now this is what I was talking about. So we can either cut this and line up two pieces. Yeah, a broom could work. Or you can take it and just fold it in half. So if we're going to fold it, we can take it here. But see, folding it gives you this effect, but it's trickier to work with because it just pops off and opens up, right? So then you can take your scissors, cut it again if you want to. Try to make sure you're cutting it somewhat evenly. Now this is where you would take those two pieces, line them up the way you want. So line them up like this. Get them set to where you want these two pieces to be. Somewhere nicely, hopefully somewhat centered. On an envelope is obviously much easier to tell what's what. Then we can take a little strip of paper or tape here, like we discussed. Tear off the bit that we don't need. So tear off the bit that we don't need. Get it set aside. And then you can take that tape and tape down what you're working on. Just like that. You need just a tiny, tiny little piece of tape. And that's going to hold it down. It's not holding down the letter. It's just holding down the two pieces that we're working with. Now for this one, we're going to use the Wax Seal Productions stamp so you can see what that looks like. And that's the Calm Scribe. I knew I had a 50-50 chance and I knew I was going to grab the wrong one. So while we're getting this set up, let's get our candle set again. And get this wax melting. We'll pull out, hopefully that's not going to be too much wax. It may be an excessive amount of wax though. So this is WSP, so we want to make sure we got it lined up properly and set that off to the side. Like I said, I haven't used this new wax very often, so this might be a lot of wax that comes out. It can be hard to, you learn how to gauge as you go along with what you're doing for this. So, but this is something that you would use a bigger chunk if you wanted to have, say, 2 seals going across, would be effective for you. So we'll let that melt. So that's the thing, is you don't want to use a huge amount of wax. If you use too much, it's just going to be a big blob and it's going to make everything messy. If you don't use enough, your seal is going to show through and it's going to be broken. You're not going to have this nice ridge of wax all the way around. It'll be broken partway through and missing, and so you just need to be careful with how much wax you're using. Actually, this one looks like it may not be that bad of an amount. It was broken in the box, so it kind of broke. It was hard to gauge. But I'm thinking all I need of it, because it's the same, it's a little bit wider than that. So I would only need, yeah, about 1 centimeter off of this one is what I would need, I think, to get that done right. So again, there's no real alarm bell that's going to go off and tell you that you've got it right, that you've got the right amount of wax. You pay attention, because if you have too much wax, you sometimes have to hold it a little bit just so it doesn't spill out the side. There's no alarm bell is going to go off telling you that your wax is done. So sometimes when it starts smoking, that's a pretty good indication that it's at a good level. Other times, what I generally do is I'll just look at it and you can tell. So find a marker. This one has some white dust on the top corner, you can see. Right around here. And if we watch that, when that goes glossy and melts, then we know. So basically, if you find the highest peak of your piece, then it's going to go glossy and you're going to see. Now, I also recommend sometimes wrapping the letter inside with another strip of paper underneath where the wax seal is going to be, just to ensure that it doesn't bleed through, because if you're using thin paper, this might stain through the paper. So you can see it bubbling nicely. You can see the middle is still melting down, but it's getting there. Right now I'm starting to feel anxious because I didn't do my 13th check of my stamp to make sure it's in the right place. What you can do is put a little black dot on the back of the stamp to show where it is. I'm just trying to see here. Okay, so there's still a little bit of scarring on top, a little bit of powder. Not quite done. It's starting to smoke, which is a sign that it's getting close to done. There we go. So we're going to take that off. We're now going to take this and dump it over our seal as we want to. See, this is a lot of wax that we have, so it came out not quite as pretty as the other one did. We're going to take a look, make sure our stamp is right, and set our stamp into the wax. And it's not quite what we wanted, but it is there. The signatory drops that we have. Wipe your wax out of your cauldron or your pot. Make sure that it is nice and clean. Again, keeping your tools clean are going to give you a much better effect. That was an excessive amount of wax, which we knew about. But this is good because it shows you... Ow, I just burned my finger. This shows you what you're looking for when you're doing it. So again, you want to look. You don't... This is an example of what too much wax looks like. We're not going to do an example of what not enough wax looks like, but this is an example of what too much wax looks like. So then we can see here, we're going to blow out our candle. And we're going to let this go. So I'll give you an example. If I were to touch it now, there to see, it's still tacky. It's not quite dry. And you can see, I'll show you when I lift it up, that I've just ruined the seal. You're back? Fud? Of course, the more intricate the design, the easier it is going to be for that for the stamp to stick into the wax. So I just have to watch that. So again, you're going to look at it and you're going to kind of put your... So when you're doing this too, you want to make sure you put your fingers beside the wax but not touching it. And just kind of rock it to one side. Rock it to the other side. And it'll let go. Now I didn't do my compulsory 13 check to make sure that it was in the exact spot that I need it to be. So my stamp came out a little bit wonky. I also, with this one, I put pressure on it, which I said not to do. So I could show you what happens if you do put pressure on it. So now with this one, we can see that it may not show up on screen as well, but we have the WSP, and the WSP is wonky. It's not lined up straight, it's on an angle. And I mean, for something like this, that may not be that bad. It didn't bleed through, so you can see the back is still fine. We can still see the lettering on the back. Kind of, there it is. But it's kind of hard to see. But you can see here where I touched the wax has a bit of a fingerprint and a bit of a bulge in it at the top. You can see there's a bit of a demarcation where my finger went into it. And you can also see, I don't know if you can tell here, but here at the bottom you can see the ribbon shining through. There's a bit of a light red spot. And here at the top it's very light red. And that is where I put too much pressure and it pushed down onto the page and pushed too much of the wax away. But again, you would then take, this is the Sharpie. So when I take this, make sure that it's nice and cool. Don't do this to your letter. I'm doing this because I'm trying to speed up the process. But then you would take, this is just a brass Sharpie, and you would take that and color over top. Actually on this one, it's picking up quite nicely. Normally it doesn't. The other wax, it doesn't pick up nicely. This one, of course, is showing me to be a fool, because why wouldn't it? There we go. And then you can also see the way it went in, this stamp didn't connect properly. So there's actually a space. Did that fill with... Hold on, I have to check. It looks like this may have pulled up some wax. You didn't get stung, did you, SJ? No, didn't pull up wax, just didn't set properly. So because I put too much pressure, it pushed the wax away, and there is a gap where that is. At the bottom there's a gap. So there's no ridge there. So I can create an artificial ridge by drawing one. But you can tell that it's missing a ridge. It looks wonky. And you would take this, color this in. There we go. And now we have the Wax Seal Productions wonky. You killed it? Nice. Good job. So you can see the letter, the envelope is here. And the Wax Seal Productions is sideways. It should be like this. It's like this. But that's alright. But now, this would get to someone. We're going to go over what the different colors mean. But someone could conceivably go like this and read what's written inside. Thank you, Prefect. Oh no, I'm going to be doing another one, Esther. And there's also the replay. But you can see here, so now we're going to go over what the colors of the wax mean in a moment, like when we're done with the demo. But what this does is the different colors. So red is kind of a business professional correspondence. So that's why all my wax is basically red, is what I use. Different colors have different meanings. So you would know immediately by the color of the wax whether or not you needed to read this in private or if you could open it in front of people. But then now if someone wanted to read this, they could then take... I don't think I've ever done this. They could take the two ribbons that they have, because I like the look of the two ribbons. It looks better when it's actually just a circular seal and not this weird misshapen blob. But you can then take that, grab it, and peel it up, and now you have your letter opened. And you can see there is a bit of a stain. This is what I was talking about. There's a bit of a stain on the paper. And you can see where it bled through. So we could then take that, open it up, and it did come through. So it says, "Welcome to the wax seal family." It has the wax seal at the top, and then it does have this little spot down here where it bled through. So that's where just taking a thin strip of paper, if you're going to be sealing an envelope, a letter, taking a thin strip of paper, like about this wide, or just about the width of your stamp basically, and wrapping that around your letter, like this. So it's wrapped around the letter. Everything is white on white. So you would take it like this, wrap it around your letter, and then put your letter into the envelope like this, and then you would stamp on top. So if it bleeds through, it's not going to damage the missive underneath. It's just going to hit that. But then you have this beautiful effect of this wax seal that someone can take and open the letter, and open the letter, I said, and see what is inside. And read the letter that you've written. There you go. So that's another method of doing wax seals. So we're going to set that one aside. Put these two on top. So I'm just going to do a quick, for the last one, I'm going to grab, do a quick swap out here. We're going to use a different color to show what it looks like. So I'm just going to grab my trusty toolbox here. And replace a few things, swap a few things out. Take this, take this. Let's do a nice deep purple color because we're on Twitch, so why not match Twitch's colors? The nice thing with the different beads is you can actually do a... you can add different colors and make an effect with it, which is kind of cool. So we're going to take that, and we are going to also use the silver for that. Actually, we'll take 4 just to be certain. I think it's only 3 that I need, but I don't use these palettes very often, so we'll use 4 just to be safe. Set that aside. And what was the other thing I needed? We have those, we have that. That's set there. Don't need this. We'll put the knife back, get it out of the way. If you can, clean up your workstation as you go, just to make sure nothing gets lost, nothing gets damaged, and that everything stays in good shape. So I'm going to take this away as well, put it back in the box. There we go. Set that box aside again. So now we're going to take another one of those little cards, the artist tiles. Now, the other thing that you can do too that's really nice is if you have flowers, if you have, say, pressed flowers, you can use those. You don't have to use just ribbon. You can do pressed flowers. You can do a sprig of rosemary or thyme to add a nice bit of a fragrance to your stamp, or to your letter. You really, whatever you want to use as a thing underneath, you can. So with that in mind, we're just going to use some twine. So we're going to pretend that this twine is going all the way around the letter and that it's sealing the letter. Will that actually wrap around? Let's take a look. I don't want to burn more twine than I need to. Oh, look at that. It'll actually fit. Okay. So what we're going to do for this one is we're going to do the tape trick again. And we're just going to do a small piece of tape just to tape this down. There we go. So we're going to get this lined up where we want it to be. like so, and use this tape and tape it in place. There we go. So now that little bit of twine is in place for what we're doing, and you cannot see it at all because of the lights. There we go. There's the twine. That's set there. So now we're going to do the Calm Scribe logo, and for that we're going to do purple. So we're going to take this, light our candle. Now again, if you're doing multiple letters, you don't have to. I'm pausing the candle because I'm distracted and I'm not paying attention fully. We're going to put our wax in here, put the purple on, and let the purple melt and do its thing. So we're going to do the twine so you can see what it looks like when you're stamping something that has a little bit more depth to it than just a flat ribbon, right? Because the twine has got some, it's thick, it's got some depth to it. Then we've got these beautiful little wax stamps, and so SJ, if you mess up and you peel it off, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to get something, this effect, where you get that wax bleed through, and it's kind of going to destroy the envelope that you're working with. So I'll set this off to the side. And for this one, we're going to use silver. There we go. So these ones are nice because you can actually see the beads melt nicely. And you can see the furnace reflected in my watch. There we go. Look at that furnace reflection. For this, you can watch the beads melt. And what I generally do is I look for, like I said, the highest peak and to see when it is melted. We're going to check this again. Make sure it's lined up appropriately. Usually the palm of your, like the ball of your hand here on your thumb is a great spot to do it. It's in the right spot. We'll set that there. All right, kids are asleep. Enjoy your stream. Have a fantastic stream, and thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the tutorial. It's a lot of fun. We're going to take a look at some pens after. So when it starts smoking, it's a good sign that it's getting close there. We can still see there's a bit of a flower pattern on top that hasn't quite come to what it should be yet. So if you put it in when it's not fully melted, then you're going to have chunks and it's not going to work for you well at all. Now the Calm Scribe, I wanted to show you this one because this one has a lot of fine detail in it, so it's easier for things to get stuck on. So let's take a look at this, see if it's ready or not. I'd say it's about ready. So we're going to take this, and we're going to pour it out over top of the tape that we have set here. There we go, set it aside. Take our stamp, just set our stamp into the wax. Do our usual, I should say, 2 drops. And get this. So now you know my secret. If you do get a letter from me with a wax seal and it's got two drops on it or a couple of drops off to the side, it's not just a random happenstance of wax dripping romantically off of the... Ow! Wow, 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 wow. That was my thumb. The metal on the spoon is extremely hot, and I just burned my thumb badly on it. So it's not a romantic accidental dripping as I was thinking about something. It's planned. It's there for a reason. It's the effect that I love and I like. That really freaking hurt. Luckily, I just burned myself on the wax, or on the handle and not on the wax. So this is a beautiful color. Yeah, it's very hot. This is a beautiful color of purple. I'm definitely going to get more of these inks or these stamps from the from where I go to because it is so gorgeous. So again, you're not putting pressure down on it. You want to make sure that so if you're having something that is like a branch, like a piece of flower or something. Hey, what's going on, Toasty Treat? How are you? Welcome, welcome. I'm in your realm. You do wax seals as well? But this one has a very nice iridescent color to it. Nice. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Or I may have. I don't think I remembered. Yeah, I've been doing wax seals for about 25 years now. And that's why my company is called Wax Seal Productions, WSP. Because we actually use wax seals for what we do. It's awesome to see another... It's actually becoming... You can go to chapters in Indigo and stuff and see wax stamps and stuff. And it's becoming more... Like, it's becoming a trend. And I know it's going to fade away again. But it's trendy right now. So again, you can see where the paper has folded up. So if you're going to do something that has like a piece of a flower that has a stem, or twine or something that's got a bit of a ball to it, or a bit of an edge to it, and it's got some depth to it, it is going to impact the stamp. And if you put down too much pressure, you're going to see through it, like we just did with this one on purpose to show what happens when you put too much pressure. So we're going to put our fingers on, avoiding the wax, and there we go. Popped off beautifully. That is actually a very beautiful stamp, the way it came through. So what got you into wax seals, Toasty? So we're going to let that cool. So the reason why the wax has a sheen to it, letter writing, beautiful. The reason why the wax has a sheen to it is because of the composition of the wax. So if we go here, we can see now that there's this beautiful color, and you can kind of see the twine through a little bit, but it's still nicely tied in behind. Now this is not something that I mean, they could pull the twine and peel it back to open it, but it's just a nice way of doing this. Then you would again take your silver marker this time and gently go over top. So now we'll see the silver doesn't work as well. I don't know if it's because it doesn't like the wax from this company, that it doesn't like the market very well. But you really have to kind of daub it and go over multiple times, different ways. It doesn't, but the other ink pen does work very well. The non-sharpener one works very well. So I made a mistake on this, which you'll see. There we go. There we go. Hey, Hippie with the raid. Welcome, raiders. Welcome, welcome. I am the Calm Scribe. This is a writing stream, and we're talking about wax seals. Yes, Minnie is around. Yeah, so you could do that. So you can do that most definitely, SJ. How are you tonight, Hippie? Thank you for the raid. And there's the Calm Scribe logo on this beautiful purple color. Like I said, Royal Wax Seals is a great spot to get your stuff. But that's how you can use twine and create a seal for your letter writing. There you go. So those are 3 stamps that we can use for this. So as I was saying before, there is a pattern to it. So historically, these don't really... I'm doing very well, thank you, Hippie. Right now we're just going through how to use wax seals and how to do wax seals properly. So the intent behind the letter could easily be deciphered with wax seals. So this isn't as prevalent now, but we have a ruby seal signified a message between engaged lovers. A red seal signified a business or a formal letter. A light red seal signified a happy lover or a valentine. A rose seal signified a message between girls. A pink seal signified praise and congratulations. A blue seal signified romance and passion. A sky blue seal signified constancy or commitment. And a violet seal signified condolences or sympathy. If you received a letter that had a brown seal, or a chocolate brown seal, signified a dinner invitation. Thanks for the lurk, Toasty. A brown seal signified displeasure or a refusal. So if you sent someone a red seal for a signified a business or formal letter asking for, say, a signature of a contract or something, and your notice came back with a brown seal, as soon as you looked at it, you knew the contract was refused, and you didn't even have to open the letter. A green seal signified a friendly or hopeful message, like a message from a hopeful lover. And of course, you did not want to see a brown seal returned from sending a green seal. A pale green seal signified a reproach. A yellow seal signified jealousy or spurned adorers. A black seal signified death notice or mourning. A gray seal signified friendship. And a white seal signified a formal invitation, a message such as a wedding invitation, or occasionally a death, funeral, or melancholy notice. And that's what those were for. So with wax seals, so the meanings actually the colors did have meanings. So purple's not listed. Oh, purple, violet seal. So this would be for condolences or sympathy, if you were to use this one. The ruby color would be a message between engaged lovers. And this red color would be a formal business stamp. Now that they are dry, you can touch them, you can poke them, you can do whatever you want with them. So a brief thing about the history of the wax seals is that, so before the advent of gummed envelopes, wax seals were used to seal letters and important documents. Letters would be sealed by melting wax onto the flap of the envelope and stamping a seal into the hot wax. Notes used a small seal. Letters had one seal. Larger letters received two seals. And important documents, like a contract or an important missive, had three seals attached to them. If a seal was broken, the recipient knew the letter had been tampered with. Along with various rules of etiquette, the different colors of stamps had hidden meanings behind them, and that's what we just discussed. So if it came and the letter arrived like this, then people knew that it had been opened and it had been messed with. And there we are. And that is a brief foray into wax and wax seals and how to use them and how to play with them. A lot of fun. Like I said, it is going to deform your paper. It is going to cause, you can see kind of on the bottom here, there's a ripple in the paper from it. But that's what they do. So that's what the wax seals were all about, and that's how they worked. So we'll take those. Actually, we'll just set those aside for now. Let's take a look at the, I'm just going to put this away, and then we're going to flip on to the next thing. Do we have any questions about the wax seals? Or how to use them or anything? Again, be very careful. As you saw, I was being very careful and I still burned myself. So I'm going to flip this up. Come in here. I know Toasty Treat is lurking, but I'm definitely going to have to follow up with them. I love the fact that they also use wax seals, and I'd love to compare notes. There we go. So we're going to put all these waxes away. And the stamp. Is there anything else from down here? Yes, the ribbon came down here as well. These artist styles probably... Nope. Tape down here. What am I missing? There we go. Whoops. Did you miss the waxing? You did just miss the waxing. We just finished off the wax. But this is what we created, Gobs. This is what we created with the wax. It's all on the... There's going to be a VOD, so you'll be able to see the VOD. Those are the wax stamps that we made. And I got the double thing going. Auto mod. We can allow that. Is there a color for when you want to say, fuck you, strong letter to follow? That would probably be the brown. Or the green, the reproach. So there's definitely a way of getting your point across. So set this here. There we go. Just want to make sure I've got everything back in my kit, that I'm not missing anything. I am missing my thing. Yeah, it was really cool. It's a nice... I enjoy doing these demos. Now I just need to... Ouch, that's still warm. Grab this, grab this. Make sure your candle is out before you put it away. Oh, that's where that went. Oh, was it? There we go. You go here, you go here. I'm trying to rebuild my box. It's the problem when I take everything out, I forget where everything goes. The poopy greeny brown seal. That's exactly it. That'll get your message across. That'll teach them. So I'm going to move this down. Put it back into the shadows where it belongs. There we go. And now we're very good, and we only used this much paper towel for doing those 3 stamps. So that's not bad. Yeah, just be careful when you dispose of it as well. There is wax on these, and wax likes to burn. So if you're disposing of it and it catches fire in a garbage can, it can burn. Yeah, once the seals are on, they're pretty durable. You can play with them, you can touch them, you can mess with them. You don't need to worry too much. But I would recommend, like I said, wrapping your letter to avoid getting something like this coming through. So there we are. So we'll set those up top so we can see what we worked on.